Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saanich, Emerging Land, Emerging People. My name is Maria Koropecki, and I am your host. We're here at Lowbrunner Park today visiting the ducks. And as far as I'm concerned, the ducks have it all figured out. As I'm looking at the ducks, I can't help but marvel at how well they figured out this earth thing. They can swim in water and even dunk underwater. And they can walk on land. And they can fly. Yeah. So they are the most adaptable species that I know of. Most of the time they get along. But when they don't, they kind of bicker a little bit every now and then. Then they just shake it off and go in another direction. I love the iridescence. The vibrant greens and the indigos, and the oranges, the browns. The little hats, they're very fashionable. Lowbrunner Park is a wooded park in natural state surrounded by big residential homes. The park features a small pond with a trail that loops around the water's edge. Follow me as I take you around the park. Edmund Herman Lowbrunner was born in Victoria in 1904. Edmund Lowbrunner was a well-regarded naturalist of alpine plants who operated a nursery and greenhouse in the area. His mother and father came from Bavaria. Ed went to Victoria High School and afterwards did some odd jobs, including building the road up Mount Doug. He married Ethel in April of 1929, but by the end of October, the stock market crashed. He said in an interview, "There was no welfare, but if you were married and had a youngster, you got relief work building the road on Mount Douglas. I did double jacking, 1 week's work at 25 cents per hour. That saw us through because we had a good garden. They were hungry times, but very happy times. We lived well on vegetables, some chickens, and good clam digging." Ed and Ethel bought a piece of property on Union Avenue and they decided to raise bulbs. "We spent 18 years on Union Avenue," he continues in his interview. "At that time, we had a young man who had worked for us for quite a number of years, and he was contemplating marriage and wondered if there were any lots around for sale. So we came up to Blenkinsop and saw our present property. The big swamp below had about 2 inches of water in it, and I remarked that it would be a wonderful place to plant rhododendrons, and we approached Bob Mercer to see if we could buy some land and the swamp, as he and his 2 sisters owned the property." Have you ever heard the expression, "Yeah, I've got some swamp land to sell you"? It was just like a golf course fairway at the time, he continues, because They raised cows there. This was in 1947 and property values were way down. We owned 3 lots adjoining Majestic Park and we sold 3 lots for $40. Eventually, the nursery became known as Ed Lowbrunner Rock Garden. From an interview with Edmund Herman Lowbrunner, 1101 Lowbrunner Road, Wednesday, October 14th, 1981, by Joanne Morrison. I like Lowbrunner Pond because it's a pond that is on an island, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from the ocean. And one is saltwater and one is groundwater. And in my research, I discovered that Mr. Lowbrunner might have found this pond through the supernatural and spiritual and intuitive method of dowsing. And dowsing is a type of divination employed in attempts to locate groundwater, buried metals, and gemstones, to name a few things. And the person who's doing it uses a Y-shaped twig or rod or 2 L-shaped ones, individually called a dowsing rod or divining rod or witching rod. And these are sometimes used in dowsing, although some dowsers use other equipment or no equipment at all. I came upon this dowsing in an interview that I read that was done by Mary Jackson in March of '88, where she interviews Leonard Simmons, who seems to be a family friend of the Lowbrunners. These are Leonard's words. Ed came from Union Avenue. That's where he had his first nursery. Then he moved and bought some of the Mercer property. One of the big assets was he had a pool back there for his frogs. He was very interested in alpine plants and also water lilies and things like that, shrubs. But I remember once, he came to where I was working up here and he was trying to find water. I said to him, "What are you doing, Ed?" "I'm in the process of getting water using the dowser rod. My mom used to do that at one time." "Well, she did it," he continued. "If anybody wanted water, she was good at it. There's water dousing through Cordova Bay up over towards Elk Lake and that sort of thing." And I said to Ed, "Well, first thing, Ed, you don't want to wear rubber boots on when you're trying to divine water." I said, "Because you can't get it, you know." So he immediately took off his rubber boots. Anyway, I told him where there was a stream that he could try on, but it's a nice thing to play around with. In this chapter of my novel Closer to Indigo, the main character, Maria Ponomarenko, is debating about whether or not she should leave her job. When Maria comes home from work, her mom is in the kitchen. "Martha was awful today," says Maria. "I'm going to write a letter and give my notice to Louise on Tuesday." "Are you sure?" asked Lubomira, worried for her daughter's well-being. "What are you going to do instead?" "I don't know. I guess I'm just going to have to take a leap of faith." The sun is still shining, so Maria changes clothes, grabs her violet sunglasses, and goes for a long walk to sort through her options. She walks down the private driveway, past the blossoming pink flowers, and past the mailboxes. Her neighbors from Ukraine wave to her from their deck. Along her way, Maria watches 2 squirrels chasing each other around trees and 5 bunnies holding their poses in the open fields before darting into the bushes. She glimpses a quail family scurrying into the blackberry bramble and notices turkey vultures, a murder of crows, fat robins, butterflies, and dragonflies circling overhead. She sees dogs checking their pea mail and cats basking in the sunlight. As she crosses the street between 2 connecting forest paths, she spots 2 deer grazing on the property with the striking log cabin that belongs on a film set. At last, she makes it to her favorite pond, where she has stood many times over the years, thinking about life's big questions. She likes to practice her listening skills by tuning into all of the sounds in the environment, including the rustling of leaves, chirping birds, ducks landing in the water, lapping waves, lawnmowers, cars driving past, and people's voices off in the distance. She likes how the blue, green, and brown colors from the trees and sky reflect in the water, and when she softens her focus, she finds the ripples created by tadpoles, ducks, wind, and sunlight to be mesmerizing as they play together, merging and receding, making fleeting patterns, revealing alternate dimensions. "Have you seen the wood ducks?" says a woman coming from Maria's left. No, I haven't," says Maria, peeling herself out of her trance. "Curious things, God bless them. They're just a pile of fluff and feathers, but each spring they jump out of the trees, one by one, hoping to fly, with only the pond beneath to catch them." Maria tries to picture the fuzzy ducklings jumping from the trees. "They just have to take a leap of faith," says the woman gleefully. Astonished, Maria cannot believe how this random woman said leap of faith. "It's the sweetest thing to watch," the woman continues. Read from Closer to Indigo by Maria Kopecky.
Here's a branch I found on the ground. Must have come down during the storm. We've been having lots of storms lately. And it's beautiful. See it? Yeah, it's fresh. So it's a fresh branch. And I just wanted to show it to you because I've decided to branch off in a new direction.